Hello all, thanks a lot. Welcome back to the Cassidy Car Cave. Today is a down day in the cave because we are in the midst of Mercedes hell, just dealing with the new 94 SL600 that I've been working on. So we'll talk about that a little bit after this. Alrighty, so if you've been following along, you know I bought this 1994 SL600. There it is right there. And it's a cool car. It's only got 62,000 miles on it. It's a 12-cylinder, which I love the 12-cylinder. Non-turbo on this one, so not quite as complicated as the CL600 I had before. But it does have some typical Mercedes gremlins. So we're going to talk about two areas today. And a little bit about kind of how I go about this, because I'm not trained in how to fix these things. I've just fooled with them quite a bit over the past 20 years. So I've got a little bit of know-how just from repeat, but I'm not, you know, an ASE certified mechanic or anything like that. So the way I go about these is when there's something wrong, whether it be this Mercedes or their Grand Wagoneer, or really most of the cars I've fooled with, very rarely do you have a unique problem that's unique to your car that no one's ever faced before. Most of these cars, there's 5 or 6 things that definitely will go wrong with them, right? Like, I used to fool with BMWs. So I had an E38 BMW before, the 750, 740 BMWs from the late 90s, early 2000s. You know, all of them had certain issues. That LED pixel was bad on all of them, right? So usually, if you've got an issue with a car, you can go to a forum, you know, benzworld.com or one of the e38.org, I think it was, and someone's probably had a similar issue to yours before, and you can kind of piece together the steps from there on how to fix it. Now, you know, you need the basic tools and all that kind of stuff, but a lot of it has been done before, and that's what I found with the 2 issues I'm currently having with the SL600. Now, there's going to be some other ones probably that come up. But the 2 big ones right now are, as soon as I got the car started, we replaced that wiring harness, fired the car up, it runs great, but it does have the hydraulic suspension, probably even worse system than the ABC suspension that the SL500 and the CL600 that I worked on had. This one calls it ADS, I think, ADS suspension. It's basically the same thing. There's struts on all 4 corners that are filled with hydraulic fluid, a control valve that dampens the suspension, and a couple of nitrogen-filled cylinders, 4, that sort of provide the shock absorption on the system. And mine is leaking badly. Let's take a look, I'll show you. But when I fired it up, I realized that it was out of fluid. And then when I added fluid, this happened. Oh, it's not supposed to be there, right? It's never good when you come back to your shop and look at your car and, whoo, look at that puddle. That's a big puddle. Like, there's a lot of leaking here. So let's show you where it's leaking. There's a control valve over on the passenger side of the car. You can see it pretty good with this plastic I've removed here. Let's get you right in there. So that's the valve right there. Has all those pipes going in and out of it and such. And if I do this correctly, you're going to be able to see that underneath that valve is just a wet mess. And it shouldn't be like that, obviously. It should be very dry. So I think that this part of the valve right here is the problem. This block right here. So I can take that block off and get it fixed. And how do I know that? Well, you know, like I said, I'm not brilliant. There's just been a lot of people that have had this problem before with Mercedes. So take a quick look at the computer here. I'm just going to show you kind of what I do. So the first step is, hey, does anybody have a problem like this before? So Ben's World is a great resource for these. That's what I use for this one. And there, lo and behold, a nice guy named Gus MB had a problem just like this, and he detailed in his post how to fix it. And then he also has a website that I went to right here, and it shows the ADS valve. It shows that you can just take out the part that I need, this block here, instead of taking the whole thing apart and all those pipes, you just take that valve block off, and it looks like this when it's off. And this is totally somebody else's work. I'm giving them full credit because otherwise this would be impossible for me to know what to do. But enough of these valves have broke over the years that it's a fairly common issue. You can figure it out. So why even take this valve off, right? Like, what good is it if you can't get a new one? Well, you can maybe get one. I'll show you on here, $1,500 for just the valve block part, not the whole diaphragm, just that one part. And you can't get it. I mean, there's people on eBay that have them, but $1,500? I mean, I only paid $3,500 for the whole car. So that's really expensive. But if you fool with any Mercedes with a convertible top at all, whether it be these SLs, the 230s, the 129s, the E320 there's a fella that's going to save you a lot of money out there in the world. His name is Klaus. I don't know Klaus, but I've dealt with him a couple times getting hydraulic cylinders for the cars. He runs a shop called Top Hydraulics. He will rebuild your top hydraulics, and also in this particular instance, he will rebuild that valve block. So we're going to pull it off. I'm going to ship it out to Gus, and he'll send it back to me. It'll take a week, 10 days to do it all. Excuse me, Klaus, not Gus. Klaus is the guy that rebuilds them. Gus is a nice fellow that had the instructions on how to get it out of there. It's pretty easy. So that's what I mean. Like, I've learned a little patience over the years. When I used to have to get these cars running to get to work in the morning, I hated problems like this because, here I am stuck. I need this car to work. But for a hobby, to just fool around with it, I have learned a little bit of patience. So I'll pull this off, get it sent out, and we'll get a part back, and hopefully that part of the issue will be resolved. The other thing I was having trouble with was the top and the windows. Every time I tried to do the window switches, really nothing would happen. And I was able to tell with my star diagnostics, and man, I don't know how you do any of this without the star diagnostics. I could read the codes and also see the current actual values and know that when I was pushing the window switches, they were functioning. You could see them go open and close in star diagnostics. But obviously the windows weren't going up and down. So another common issue, right? Search the forum, blah, blah, blah. We got these 6 fuses in the back of the car. And these fuses control from top to bottom, it's left and right windows. And then the most important one is down here, this big blade fuse controls the power window motors and the controller for the top. So the fuses were fine. If you put a test light, which I did, across them, you'll see that they're fine. But in these cars, they used aluminum fuses, which is necessarily not necessarily anything wrong with aluminum, but aluminum fuses with a copper contact, dissimilar metals. I'm not sure they had a real good grasp on that in the early 90s when they were building these. So dissimilar metals, it basically turns into a battery, as I understand it, and you get kind of weird corrosion. It's not from humidity or what we're used to seeing corrosion from. It's just 2 different metals and a current flowing through them will make this weird corrosion. So they were all corroded. I had to take a wire brush, take all those fuses out, clean up the contacts. I'm actually ordered new fuses that are copper instead of aluminum. We're going to put those in. And this strip in the bottom, it looked fine. It read 12 volts across it. But as soon as I pulled it out, it just disintegrated. It had corroded to the point where it was still making contact. 12 volts would go through it, but not enough amps to power the system. All right then, so the plan will be to send the ADS valve block off to Klaus and get that returned back. He's awesome. I'll probably be 7-10 days, I would guess, turn around on that. And then we'll replace the fuses with the brass fuses. And then hopefully we can get this thing on the ground and go for a drive and see what else we can find that's wrong with it. But that's the update for now. The Grand Wagoneer is back there in the background. I think that'll move to the forefront while we're waiting for parts on the SL. We'll do the headliner and maybe the steering box for that and get that on the road as well. I have ordered the parts to convert that to fuel injection. When that gets here, that'll be a great install as well. So thanks a lot. Look for more updates soon.